Every month, Sophia and a friend, they're higher initiates, they go from Mexico City to Guadalajara to teach a Satsang class. And they make the flight. It's about an hour. So when they get in, they get a taxi. And when they got a taxi, they found that their driver was a woman. Now, this is very unusual in Mexico. So they commented on it to their driver, and they said, you know, very unusual, of course, but we're happy to have you. And so they start going to their respective homes. And as they're driving along, cab driver, overhears them talking in back there, And she says, "You teach a class?" And they said, "Yes, we do." "A class on what?" And right away the two Eckankars, Sophia and her friend, knew that the door, the Holy Spirit or the inner master, had opened the door to talk about the teachings of Ek. And so they said, well, it's a class on Eckankar, on the Ek teachings. And then they told about all the benefits they had personally received from their being in Eckankar. Sometimes it's healing, it can be anything. Sometimes it's foreknowing things. And sometimes it's helping us through periods of pain and discomfort, or sometimes just loneliness. These were things, they had to draw on, to talk about. And as they're going along, the driver says, "I want to tell you a terrible story, something that happened to me." She said she was home and she went up on the roof to wash clothes, and she'd neglected to lock the doors downstairs because, she probably never did. Went up there, and maybe 20 minutes, half an hour later, she comes down. She looks around. Sofa cushions are thrown back or on the floor, and everything has been turned upside down. Their home has been turned upside down. And so she didn't know what to do. She said, just for such a short time, and they came in, it was as if they knew exactly what they wanted. They took their electronic devices, they took their savings, they took her jewelry, and beside many other things, they cleaned them out. And this is probably why she was driving a taxi, because they had to get back on their feet. And so she said, this terrible thing happened. But the worst thing, she expected was a scolding from her husband. Because when he came home, she feared, and he found out she'd gone upstairs and left the door unlocked, then he would scold her, and he would, he'd just carry on, because he was very strict and very materialistic. And she thought there's no way around this. She's going to have to face the music. But when her husband came home, he was completely different. I won't let you guess here. He was completely different. And he said, you know, this has taught me that no material thing is worth your life or our son. And so this was the lesson he had learned from this. But she went on, the driver went on, and she said, when they had told her about Eck and everything, she said, now I understand. And she was crying and everything while driving. And nobody said to her, you sure you should be doing both at once, you know? No texting while you're driving, no crying when you're driving us either. But she was, you know, she was crying. And she said, ever since the burglary, the family has been afraid to go in the house. They're afraid to step inside. And this terrible fear has been gnawing at them, and they didn't know what to do about it. And Sophia and her friend said, are you a Catholic? And she said, no. Are you a Christian? Yes. You see, down in Mexico, there's a difference. And I'm not here to pretend I know it, but there is a difference between Catholics and Christians. Mexico used to be predominantly, and probably still is, Catholic, but more and more people are going over to one of the other Christian denominations. And so she said she was Christian. And Sophia said, good. Said, sing Hugh and see Christ in your inner vision and give him this worry, this fear. Give it to him. Just sing Hugh and give your fear to Jesus. And the driver liked that. She said, I can do that. And then when they got to Sophia's home, before they went inside, before they even got out of the cab, they sang Hugh all together. They got out and they hugged and they wished each other well. Oh, you know, I should go back and mention that her friend, she had talked to her friend first a few days before, and she said, ask your angels or ask your God to send someone or something to help you overcome this. And so when the Eckankars came, well, then the driver looked and she said, thank God. Thank God. I realize now what happened. God really heard my prayer and he sent you. You know, and through this single experience, the husband learned that there is something more important than material things. And the driver learned that God really heard her prayer. And the Eckankars had their faith renewed in the miracles of divine spirit.